Producers will always rule the world because they're actually creating product and they're bringing value to the world. Consumers do one thing: consume. There is a formula for wealth. There is a science to achievement, and there are exceptions to everything, by the way. Wealth is a mentality, it isn't a possession. We live in a capitalist society that is largely driven by consumerism. The wealthiest people in the world got there through consumerism, meaning they created products, they produced products that consumers wanted. What happens is when consumers want more, but they don't know how to produce, they only know how to consume. Then the world seems very unfair because they're consumers, not producers. Producers will always rule the world because they're actually creating product and they're bringing value to the world. Consumers do one thing: consume. And there are a lot of consumers in our world. And I point this out a lot, but most people don't want to be millionaires. They want to be able to consume or spend millions of dollars. Let me say it another way. Most people don't want to produce millions of dollars. They want to consume millions of dollars. That is a completely different orientation. And the entire system is really designed around creating consumers. Everywhere you look, somebody is trying to sell you something. Everywhere you look, marketing is telling you, you're not whole without this, you're not fit without this, you're not cool without this, you're not sexy without this. And it really programs people to think like consumers, which makes it harder to not be one. Right? It's buy, materialism. But the problem is consumerism will never get you to wealth. Quite the opposite, unless you're the ones producing the things that other people consume. And backtest what I'm saying. Look at all the wealthiest people in America right now. How many of them created very valuable products that other people wanted? That's how they got there. It starts with having a wealthy mentality. If you don't have a wealthy mentality, no amount of physical wealth is going to make you wealthy. You will blow it. Look at all of the athletes that sign big contracts that go broke. Look at all the people who win the lottery who go broke. The stats are insane. How does somebody win $300 million and go bankrupt in 5 years? That should never happen. Because if you don't teach somebody how to manage money, the money will manage them. And money doesn't change you, it exposes what you are. Because what is money? It gives you freedom. It gives you freedom of expression. So suddenly, things that you were limited in your ability to do, now you can do because you have money to do it. So whatever desires are in you are going to come out when suddenly you have a blank check and you can do whatever you want. But if you want to become wealthy, hang out with wealthy people and think like wealthy people do. It's a mindset. It's a different way of looking at the world. It's a different orientation to the world. It's really 3 steps. Step 1, develop high-value skill sets. Skill sets that produce things in the world, right? You could inspire, you can entertain, you can educate, but create skill sets, develop your skill sets that are of high value that other people will pay for. Either the market will pay for them, an employer will pay for them, maybe you start your own business, maybe you work for somebody else in the beginning, but develop high value skill sets. One of the biggest issues with academia right now is by and large not teaching and producing high value skill sets in students. It's putting them in debt and maybe giving them facts that they may or may not remember by the time they graduate, but it's not developing skill sets. That's why there's a huge market right now for people who know how to teach real world skill sets that are valuable and marketable. That's step 1. To the degree in which you solve big problems, you will get paid big money. The bigger the problem you solve, the more money you make. That's a skill set thing. Take that skill set, exchange it in form of time and energy for money or income. Now, when you have income, you have a choice. You have 2 things you can do with that income. You can either become a producer with it, or you can become a consumer with it. Elon Musk exited PayPal, I think, for $180 million and took literally every penny of that $180 million and put it back in companies and built billion-dollar companies. That's a producer, not a consumer. Now, unfortunately, people have this all wrong and they think, oh, he inherited wealth or he came from privilege. And it's true, every one of us come from some level of privilege, but that isn't the reason why he's wealthy. He's wealthy because he's a producer, not a consumer. He's trying to solve some of the world's biggest problems right now. And I cannot believe the amount of hate he's getting on his path to doing that, especially from people that he freaking runs circles around. Like, it's human. It is what human is. So you take the money that you exchange for your skills in you putting into producing. How would you do that? Take that income, invest it in assets that produce. The number one asset that you should invest in is your brain. Right? Your brain is a computational tool. The better the programs you give it, the more effective it is, the more money you'll make, the more freedom you have, the more satisfaction you'll have in your life. So number one investment is your brain. You do that through getting mentors, getting in masterminds, getting around the right people, but invest in yourself. Okay, number one, that's your mind and your body, to be fair. Other assets that you can invest in, obviously real estate. I like crypto, other businesses, start your own business. But things that are income producing. Now you invest in assets, and then those assets turn around and create passive income, or at least minimally active income. Passive income is somewhat not as accurate as some people think. I don't know how many people, I was just talking to a friend about this, who got into the Airbnb world because he thought he was going to have all this passive income, only to realize, wow, this is taking a lot of work to figure out Airbnb. This is not passive. Like, no, it's not. At some point it could be, depending on the systems you build. There are very few things that are totally technically passive, but you certainly can do things where assets are doing the heavy lifting and you're making more money than the hours you're putting in.